Welcome back to Cheddar News, everyone. Auto giant General Motors announcing a partnership with Wabtec on electric freight locomotives for the rail space. These two companies will work together to develop and commercialize the automaker's battery and fuel cell technologies for locomotives. And joining me now with more is Gebhardt, Chief Technology Officer for Wabtec. Eric, first, congratulations on the partnership. Huge deal with huge ambitions, with a company, GM, with huge ambitions. Talk to me more about how this partnership came about.
So it's an exciting opportunity here to work with GM. It's a great company. They have fantastic technology in batteries and fuel cells. We had reached out to them for some discussions, and as we started working together, we saw that we were really aligned on trying to get to zero emission, higher safety standards, all these things. And based on that, we really said, how do we work even closer together? How do we take the knowledge that GM has around the cells and the fuel cells, put that with the application knowledge of Wabtec, and really try to drive the industry forward?
Okay. So what are the innovations, basically, that we can expect to see?
So we're taking the locomotive that we have today, and we've already had an opportunity to do some runs out in California with an earlier version of a battery electric locomotive. But now we're going to take it to the next level. We're going to move it from 2.4 megawatt hours up to 6 megawatt hours. When we get to a 6 megawatt hour version of this, we can save 30% in fuel. So that's 30% lower emissions, 30% less fuel. When we get the fuel cells integrated into our locomotives, we can actually get a zero emission locomotive operating on the rails. And when we think about a zero emission locomotive, that every locomotive that you move to zero emissions saves 3,000 tons of CO2 per year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for our viewers, because I think that this is an important distinction, especially as we think about the future and fighting climate change, the difference between electric technology and the hydrogen fuel cell systems. What is it?
Yeah. So electric technology, the battery, a pure battery electric would be similar to a battery electric car, where it's all battery, it's running on that, it charges. The difference with locomotives on that is that the regenerative power. So when you hit the brakes on a locomotive, you can gain a lot more energy that way. So every day as it's riding on the track, it can discharge and recharge itself 3 times a day while it's riding down the track. When we move to fuel cell technology, this is where you take hydrogen, run it through a fuel cell, and you create the electricity on that. So it's actually generating its own electricity, but that would also be used in conjunction with batteries. So the batteries are essential building block. We want to get those operating, get those tested out, and then we'll be integrating the fuel cells in at a later time when we get the hydrogen and the hydrogen technology set up for that.
Does your company have any exposure to the semiconductor shortage that we've seen impact the car space across the board?
We have not seen an impact of the semiconductors, the volumes that we purchase and the partners we haven't seen that as an issue.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me then about the logistics of this partnership, Eric. When can we start to see this in real life? And of course, what is the sharing agreement going to entail?
So we're working together now to go ahead and take the cells, the battery cells, and then package those up and put into our locomotives. We plan to start shipping these in 2023, 2024 timeframe. And we're going to go ahead and engineer these solutions together. And then we're going to be utilizing the factories that GM has in Ohio and Tennessee to provide the batteries, and then the fuel cells will come out of Michigan.
Mm-hmm. So since you are the CTO and we talked about the technology behind this, I'm just curious, from a dollar or a percentage amount using this technology, partnering with GM, one of the biggest automakers here in America, if not the biggest, how does this impact climate change? What is the positive impact to climate change that we could see?
So we're really excited. As I mentioned, for every locomotive that we move to a fully decarbonized version, that is 3,000 tons of CO2 per year that can be eliminated. There's about 30,000 locomotives operating right now in the US, so you can kind of get the scale of the the amount of carbon that can be eliminated here. And then you start to think about with the batteries, as we integrate those, we can save 30% on the fuel in the short term and 30% on the emissions. So we're very excited about how this plays out.
Your company might not be familiar to most people out there. A lot of investors watch this show, a lot of day traders, Eric, and the company, Wabtec, is private. I know as the CTO, you might not have the answer for this, but with the growth that is expected to come with this partnership with GM, is that something that your company is looking at, a future IPO down the road?
Yeah. So Wabtec is a public company. We're a publicly traded company. So we are, of course, always looking to raise shareholder value with these types of relationships here, but we are a public company.
So as a publicly traded company, then I assume probably you're going to get a lot of investor interest in the wake of this in particular. Why GM versus Ford?
Well, we looked at it, and for the battery production, we were looking for domestic battery production. And with that, GM has a facility in Ohio right now that will be starting production shortly. It's Ultium battery plant that it has there, and then it'll be expanding that. And so we were looking to make sure that we can meet our timeframes, wanting to start shipping in 23, 24 timeframe, and it matched up very well with GM's timelines.
Are you looking to partner with other automakers down the road, or just this partnership with GM, is it an exclusive one that doesn't allow you to partner with other automakers?
We're very happy with what we're doing right now with GM, and we don't see ourselves reaching out too much in the future.
Mm-hmm. For personal cars, we know that GM is planning to offer and roll out dozens of new electric vehicles over the course of the next several years or so. From a consumer standpoint, the consumer car, do you think that there is a day down the road where for your own personal car, we'll see this technology deployed inside of that?
Well, what's great about this is the same technology at the cell level, and at what's called the module level is the same that they will be deploying within their electric vehicles. What we do is we just stack more of them up for a locomotive. If you think about a locomotive, we'll have over 6 megawatt hours worth of batteries within the locomotive. That's equivalent to about 100 Teslas if you start thinking about the amount of energy that is in there. And so it's the same technology overall, we just put more in there. And then the locomotive itself is putting out about 4,500 horsepower. So if you think about the amount of power and the amount of energy that we'll have, it's larger than hundreds of cars. It's also larger than trucks, and it's a very rugged application where we're going to be taking it through charges and discharge cycles. We'll be putting out a lot of power from those. So it's the ruggedness of the application that we're trying to kind of modify the overall system for. Mm-hmm. But the overall building blocks are the same that would be used in electric vehicles. Mm-hmm.
Now, I see that this prototype, part of a $23 million grant from the California Air Resource Board, awarded to your company, BNSF Railway, in the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District, just in terms of testing some of these capabilities. Locomotive is a huge space. It's an absolutely key space, Eric. Companies within the locomotive space that this partnership will touch, obviously the partnership with GM, but what other companies will this partnership touch?
So right now for this specific, it is with us and GM. We have partnered with others to develop the technology, some of the technologies that we have. I referenced the battery electric, the flex drive vehicle. You mentioned the California Air Resources Board. On that one, we did in over 13,000 miles of test on that between Barstow and Stockton, California. With a smaller version of what I'm discussing now at 2.4 megawatt hours, we saved 11% in fuel. And it was just a very good success, high reliability, great tractive effort when we look at what happened there. And we're building off that success, and then pulling GM into this helps us even accelerate faster what we're working on here to get to the 6 megawatt hour plus version of that electric locomotive.
All right, fascinating stuff. Eric Gebhardt, Chief Technology Officer for Wabtec, with the news of the partnership with GM today. Thank you so much.